also wanted to get your thoughts on Prado racing Supercross. Obviously, massive step up. He's, MXGP champ racing the 450 Supercross. It's not like a lot of the guys, they do the 250 first. So it's a massive step, mate. Do you think he'll be fine with it? Do you think he'll adapt perfect? Obviously, he's so good at starting. He's a very precise, intelligent rider. But like you say, you probably know better than everyone, mate. Racing it and riding it are two different things. So how do you think he'll go? And your expectations is a top 10 to be pretty good to start with, wouldn't it?
I think it's realistic, though. In my opinion, it would be great, but I think it's almost setting the bar a little bit low. I think he's going to do really well. I think he's one of, if not the best starter in the world right now, and that's such a huge key piece of Supercross, especially in those first 5, 6, 7 minutes of the race. If you can be at the front and let those gaps grow a little bit, man, I think he can. I think he can really do a good job. I think he can win a heat race, maybe. And I think that there's chance that, he can get a top 5 or a podium even. I think he learns quick. I saw him riding Supercross back in 2017 when he was over riding with TLD, and he was already like pretty good. And the videos I've seen of him most recently, he looks really good. And, fitness is not going to be a question. I think there's definitely going to be a little bit of racecraft to be learned and understood, but I think there's no way, the naysayers are going to eat their words, I believe.
The bikes are obviously slightly different in America than they are to the GPs. But in terms of actual starts and things, are they much different?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what they have there compared to what they have here. I think, as far as this is totally an assumption on my part. As far as electronics and stuff go, I think everything's pretty close to the same on both sides of the pond for that group. Obviously, there's some big chassis options in Europe that they can use, but here I think they've made a lot of changes this year, from what I understand and what I hear. So to me, I don't think he's going to struggle with anything resource wise on the bike.
Yeah, just obviously we saw Tom Vial come over this year, another renowned starter from the GP, just didn't seem to bring that same intensity, if you will, off the start in the Supercross and in the outdoors. Just kind of seemed to struggle initially. Do you foresee Prado having a similar issue? Maybe just the pressure of the situation, or just the not being used to those riders around him?
I don't see a big issue. Like I said, I definitely think that there's going to be some racecraft type stuff to be learned, but I also think that he's a world champion. He's a world champion for a reason. So to me, he's going to figure all that out pretty quick. Typically, the tracks start off a little bit more mellow for Supercross. They don't want to like blow everybody up right off the bat. So if we see a mellow A1, I think he's on for a good finish.
Yeah, obviously it's going to be a massive season ahead, and A1's going to be fascinating. The field's so stacked. I guess, who are your favourites heading in? Do you lean towards Sexton, Jett, or Tomac? Obviously, Tomac coming back from the injury, he's going to be working away so hard, and he's not going to come back if he doesn't think he can win, is he? So I guess Tomac's going to be really fascinating to see how he goes. And do you think Jett can get it done in the rookie season like he did in motocross? Obviously, Paris Supercross was a nice taster on the 450 Supercross, but you can still extract some positives from that too. But I guess come A1, it'll be pretty fascinating to see all those storylines unfold, as well as Sexton going to the KTM.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that we have a really good season coming up. Hopefully everybody can stay healthy, and it lives up to the hype. For me, I think Eli's the favorite somehow. I just think that he has the least amount of change. He's probably feeling pretty fresh after a couple months off. I don't see any issues with this injury. Like, it's, with sports science and sports medicine these days, it's pretty straightforward. I think he's the favorite. I think Jett's going to win races for sure and challenge. And, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he runs away with it. Who knows? We saw that in outdoors. Obviously, it was pretty impressive. But to me, I think that the championship's mostly between those two. I'd really like to see Jason get back in there, get back to that 2022 kind of form he had with 7 race wins and all that. Coop's going to be rejuvenated on the Yamaha. So I think there's just a lot of really good storylines leading up to the season, but Eli's probably my favorite.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. It's going to be so
favorite
cool.
for the title pit.
Yeah, it's going to be so good. Another guy that you know extremely well, Kenny Roczen, he's just so happy at the moment. He's refreshed. He's kind of had a little bit of a mini preseason, so maybe that'll hold him in good stead to come out more firing than the others at A1 with the WSX stuff he's been doing. But it's impressive how well he adapts to everything. Obviously, he did the outdoors that one round and just held his own. He did the MXOE, he did the SMX, he did Supercross, World Supercross. He's done it all, mate. So happy on that program. He loves the freedom. He's just in a really good place right now, isn't he, mate?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I've done a little bit of training with Kenny over the past couple months, and yeah, he's always just keen. Honestly, like he's just excited to do it, And we were kind of talking about it a couple weeks ago, and I was kind of asking him, like, what's the deal, because I know he has sort of a new diet and new no trainer, and I was like, what's the deal? Like, what's the difference? And he was like, honestly, like I just decided that it was going to be my passion to do this stuff and figure it out and get better, and it's working. And I was like, yeah, like for sure it's working. And like you said, I think he's just in a really good spot, and when you're happy, the results come. So he's one of the most talented guys to ever ride a dirt bike, in my opinion, and is always capable of winning races. So he's another one that's just going to be right there in the mix.
So you moved off of the Geico Honda at the end of
14.
onto 14. Oh yes, what was almost a KTM as near as can be without it being orange. What kind of some of the things that you struggled with and some of the things that you found better? Because obviously Chase has moved off of the Honda to the KTM, which is obviously the steel frame, etc.
Yeah. So for me, like I raced KTM's my whole amateur career, so it was more of like a homecoming than something strange, where I'd ridden an aluminum frame my whole life, and then it's this new steel frame thing. It was, for me, it was quite the opposite. I didn't really find any challenges. I found a little bit more of the Steve Dixon attitude of like, hey, we're going racing for fun. Whereas Geico was super corporate, and for me, it was more always about the atmosphere than the bike. I just thrived on having fun and fun people around me, and everybody being happy with what I was producing, basically. So it was a big paradigm shift for me, that I was back to, like, I went from where I felt like I was stuck in America to Steve's team, and found the passion and found the fun. And then I was straight back in the fire, with Geico. And then I went there to Rockstar Husky, and kind of found that fun again. That's what was the difference for me. I never really struggled with the bike, and I knew we had good equipment and we could get the job done with what we had. So it was more like a homecoming for me.
Chase, yeah, like you said, you were obviously on steel frames growing up, part of the KTM thing. Do you think Chase is going to struggle trying to adapt to that steel frame, or do you think he's obviously such a talented rider? Do you think it's just going to be a case of little clicks here and there, just getting himself comfortable?
I don't think it's even so much a steel frame, but when you're at that level of winning Supercross races, or being in the top 10 in the 450 class, there's such a fine line of what it takes to be there, and how well your bike is obviously part of that. And I think it's a massive ask for a guy to change bikes, even if it's not aluminum frame to steel frame. Even if it's just like Honda to Yamaha or whatever. I think it's such a fine line to find in the matter of, what we call the off season, November, December to January. I think that's the biggest thing. And also just having no race knowledge, no notes, no know-how, no feel of that. I think it's going to take him just a little bit longer to get adjusted to that. Probably go to A1 on one thing and end up on something completely different for the second round. So I think it's just going to take some time to get that thing going. Maybe not. Maybe he goes out and wins the first 3 races. I've been wrong a lot in my life, so fair play if he does.
Yeah, well said, mate. Totally agree. And just wanted to get a couple more before I let you go. Obviously, the Alden Baker training program, something you know really well, and it's obviously proven in the past to build champions really well. And you're interesting to see the dynamic of guys sort of opting out of that. Obviously, Vial and Sexton on the KTM aren't doing it, but you've still obviously got the other guys like Mookie, Craig, and AP. Just your thoughts on how good is it? it's obviously extremely brutal, extremely demanding, and it's definitely all in, and it puts you through your pace as well and truly. So I guess it builds a pretty formidable mindset as well, but it must be extremely challenging while you're right in the trenches around this time of year as well.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a race proven program, but I think that they're at a point where they have to produce some results with some 450 guys, which I think is possible. Those guys are super talented. AP, Mookie, and Christian are all talented guys, so I think it's just kind of lost a little bit of steam or speed here lately. But I think it just takes a couple of race wins and everybody's back on the game. So yeah, we'll see.
Are you really excited to see how Mookie goes? Obviously, there's been a lot of buzz, and I was talking to JT the other day, and he said Christian Craig was saying he's like a second and a half faster than everyone on the test track. So actually flying at the test track, mate. So how excited are you to see Mookie back out there refreshed and injury-free and fully healthy? He should be a pretty good force to be reckoned with once he gets a few races under his belt. Do you feel that too?
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely not like in my sort of top 5 guys for the championship, I don't think, but I'm sure he'll be fired up. And, I think he's definitely a good rider. He's won championships and he knows how to do it. He's got to knock out that first 450 win. That's a major milestone that once you get that off your back, it frees up a lot of your mind. So I think he's looking to do that right off the bat as soon as possible when the season starts. And yeah, hopefully he can do that.